Off and running. Chris Lemonis fired yesterday by Zach Selman, among others, on the campus of Mississippi State University. And his tenure was full of highs and lows. And not sure it was ever really a super fit, but it started off so hot that it looked like it. Anyway, coaching search, hot board. Here we go. Steve Robertson joining us on the Out of Bounds Show. 105.9 The Zone, ESPN. Our SEC Insider Hit this morning is brought to you by Blue Cross Blue Shield of Mississippi. It's good to be blue, the official healthcare provider of the Out of Bounds Show. Blue Cross Blue Shield of Mississippi. Steve Robertson joining us on the show. Steve, I saw you fired up your hot board last night.
Yeah, we did. I thought we were going to talk about Cyndi Lauper getting inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but here we are. But no, I'm joking. But yeah, we actually started working on it several days ago, and had some conversations last week with some people that kind of led me to believe that this was a possibility. That needed to win the series against Florida. Didn't do that. Then certainly needed to go win the series against Auburn. You didn't do that. And I told my guys last week, I said, guys, I'm just telling you, if State goes to Auburn and gets swept, there's a really good chance Chris Lemonis is going to be fired Monday morning. And they didn't get swept, but lo and behold, here we are. And at the end of the day, I think it's important to let's just kind of, if we can't be honest on the Bo Bound Show, I don't know what we can be, right?
That's for damn sure.
This was the right decision. Zach Selman made the right decision. And there's some people out there in the National College Baseball media that disagree, and that's okay. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. But I think at this point there was more than enough data to make a decision that was best for Mississippi State baseball. We're very grateful for Chris Lemonis and the things that he contributed to Mississippi State. And I spoke to Chris just a few minutes after I broke the story yesterday of his dismissal, and he took it like a professional. And not that you'd expect anything less, but Chris himself just said, at the end of the day, there are expectations at Mississippi State baseball that I didn't meet, and we just simply did not win enough. And he wasn't angry or ranting and raving or blaming administration. They never gave me this. He was the consummate professional, and told me he wished the next guy the best of luck, that it was a wonderful place. He loved his time here in Starkville, and that, obviously very grateful to win a national championship here. And I asked him, about future plans, and he said, I don't know yet. We'll just kind of figure it out, and I'm going to take my time and find the right job. And he's under contract, I guess, through June of 26, and so he doesn't have to. And they're not going to miss any meals, obviously. So.
No.
But the situation's a little bit different. You always hate it when people get fired, but when you've got another year on your contract, I mean, just that's part of the deal. But now you move forward. We were prepared for yesterday's news, and very grateful to be able to break a story, and now we move forward into a coaching search.
All right, let's Steve Robertson talking coaching search. Lemonis was fired yesterday. This is a massive hire for Zach Selman and Dr. Mark Keenum. To get it right, to get locked in. All right, so I was told that they're not going to go the cheap route, and that the resources are there to do what they need to do. Were you told that, and do you believe? Now, I'm not like totally opposed to an assistant coach. Like if there's one that comes out of somewhere and they love him and they think he can handle it and all that, that's great. But I understand there's going to be a long look at a couple of dozen sitting head coaches. Did you hear the same thing, that the resources will be there?
Absolutely. And I've had conversations with people, administration now, some people throughout the entire college baseball season, and a lot of that quieted down. You win the series against South Carolina, you win at Alabama. And I can tell you, Bo, people at Mississippi State wanted Lemonis to make it. They wanted him to go back and win other national championships. They wanted him. This is not a situation where they were hate watching this team, just kind of waiting for the right moment to fire Chris Lemonis. He just didn't have that type of relationship where there was, bitterness But at the end of the day, he didn't win. And so one of my concerns was, and I've aired this, you're like me, I'm not scared to ask the question, you know. You may look at me a little bit funny, but I think I'm entitled to certain answers, especially when, when we're so invested in this sport. But I asked last week and again on yesterday, I said, my concern is that with all this house settlement stuff and all this reduction in revenue the athletic department has, is we may be in a situation, be in a bad spot, or maybe we can't go out there and get the marquee coach. Maybe there's a dream coach or two that we think would come in here and elevate the program. And do we or do we not have the funds? And I have been assured by multiple parties that is not going to be an issue, that we have funding, we have secured additional funding, we've had a tremendous amount of donations for these purposes in the last several months, to give the athletic department the capital with which they need to operate with. And so I am told that nobody is off the board, that if we find the right fit, there's a person who wants to come here, even if there's going to be a sizable buyout, that we're prepared to pay it.
All right, who's your number one? I've got mine. Who's your number one guy on your board?
Well, I think it's got to be Jackson. It has to be. If nothing else, if nothing else, man, the Sunday afternoon games will be a riot, but
no doubt.
But nevertheless, I don't really like to advocate for coaches, but I'll tell you some guys that are interesting to me.
Okay.
I like coaches that have an edge, and one of the things that makes me physically ill, and we haven't seen it as much the last couple of years, but you go back to 22 and 23, people coming in here and stomping on our plate and chirping at our fans. That's not something that I'm ever going to be okay with, ever, at any point. Nobody comes to Dudy Noble and disrespects Mississippi State. And I think coaches that have an edge, like a Nick Mingione, is the guy that just wouldn't tolerate that kind of foolishness. And Nick obviously knows what it takes to win here because he's been here when we played for national championships and won the SEC. And has won at a place where it's nearly impossible to win. Took Kentucky to Omaha for the first time in school history last year. Shared the SEC championship with Tennessee last year. And I don't think a lot of people realize that. You look at this monster Tony Vitello has built, and all of a sudden Nick Mingione's the guy that's given him the absolute blues. And so I think that's a guy that I could certainly get behind. Brian O'Connor, of course, from Virginia. I've heard some things in the last 24 hours that make me think that he's at least picking up the phone and talking to. And I believe, as you mentioned, Bo, that the primary focus initially, not that you're going to eliminate candidates, but I think the preferred candidate would be a sitting head coach, because this is a monster in Mississippi State. And I don't just mean that this is a program with high expectations. The appearances, there's just so much that, if you go out and get some just up-and-coming G5 guy, I interview all the head coaches throughout the season, right, of the opponents. Most weeks, I'm the only guy interviewing that coach.
Right.
There's no SEC network yet. There's no Bo Bound show. There's none of that. So they're grateful to talk, and sometimes they'll talk your ear off because they're just so grateful to talk ball with somebody outside of their office.
Right.
And you take somebody like that and you throw them into this meat grinder, there's a learning curve, and that's why I think you're better served going to getting a sitting coach, and just because it takes so long. And Lemonis will tell you the same. I remember when the very first fall he was here, and we opened up fall baseball, and there's about 3,500 people at the first scrimmage game, and he made mention. He said, "That's just for like the opening of fall ball, right?" I was like, "No, coach, that's every game. That's every fall ball game, and especially football weekend. There's going to be a ton of people here." He goes, "Oh, well, we didn't even have open scrimmages in Indiana, So there's a culture shock for people that come here because baseball matters in Mississippi State, and there's a lot of people that use it as a hashtag, that baseball kind of matters, but not to a fan base like this.
Right.
This is a fan base that even in some lean football and basketball years, baseball has always been there for them. And so there are going to be expectations for access. There's going to be expectations to win. There's going to be expectations in recruiting that just aren't seen in a lot of places.
Steve Robertson, Gene's Page, 247 Sports. He joins us on the Farm Bureau Insurance Guest Line. We are the Out of Bounds Show, talking Chris Lemonis getting fired, coaching search in Starkville, and there's a lot on the line for several people on campus. And then all the stakeholders are ready to win, and you can be back in a super regional or Omaha in 1 year if you do this right. And in fact, you've got a talented team right now, just one that's never gotten it going. So, do you envision a scenario where they go and get a Nick Mingione, an Eric Bakich at Clemson, Wes Johnson at Georgia, Brian O'Connor at Virginia, whoever, and Justin Parker stays?
I think that's a possibility. I think it's got to be the right fit for Park too. And listen, that's the thing you begin to think about. Like, it's kind of like the Jason Jackson situation at Alabama, right? When they fired Bill Hannon for the gambling scandal, the team caught fire under Jason Jackson. A lot of people were like, hey, let's just give Jason the job. And people in the know said, nah, Jason's not going to get the job, but he stayed on. And that's been a great thing for Rob Vaughn.
Sure.
And so, yeah, I think that's a possibility. But, Justin Parker's going to be a head coach somewhere someday. And I think this is a great situation. When I go back and think about a conversation you and I had a month ago, and this has kind of been a chance for him to prove himself, maybe not just here, but to other athletic directors around the country, that when the time comes that he's a guy that can run the program. And he is definitely an alpha dog. And one of the things that I want to get out, Bo, too, I think this is important. You and I talked about a little bit of this yesterday off air, but we have to hire the best baseball coach that returns Mississippi State to a regular host, right? And to a team that in a down year is a road regional team, not a team that's it takes 2 years to kind of get back. There needs to be some level of consistency. And that guy may not come to your tailgate, right? And that guy may not come to you, to your little family get together when you're in town. You may go, get you a room at the mill or whatever, and that guy may not show up for that. And you know what? That's okay, right? Because this is not, show and tell. This is SEC baseball. And I think people have got to be okay with that, because some of these coaches, as you guys know, the ones that are really, really successful in this sport and others are guys that are pretty much obsessed with it.
Sure.
And I go back to like the Dan Mullen thing, right? And it's easier to look back in hindsight after what we've experienced the last few years and really appreciate what Dan did at Mississippi State. But Dan Mullen wasn't interested in coming to your tailgate. Dan Mullen did not want to leave that building until it was time to go coach or practice. That he'd go play golf with his kid or whatever. He'd go get out every once in a while and go to his lake house. But, Dan wasn't a guy coming to play bingo with you. And I think that's one of the things that we need to go ahead.
God, give me give me a combination of Dan Mullen and John Cohen today as coaches, and then you're rolling. In fact, I just wrote this down as you were going through that, Steve Robertson. I want a combination of Cohen, McMahon, and Cannizzaro, all with enormous amount of FU in them, did not give a damn about what anybody else thought, former players or otherwise, just wanted to win baseball games. Now, you and I have had this conversation. The best recruiter to ever step foot on campus is Andy Cannizzaro. Now, I know he got in trouble, but one thing he told me, and you and I have talked about this, I'm sure he told you this, but he and I got into, 27 beers one night at Hobie's on Main Street. And he said, I don't understand why this place has never been an elite recruiter, but it will be going forward. And, he was going out and getting the names that you and I have gone over, and they are known as great players to go through Mississippi State. So how do you balance this now in the new era, Steve? Somebody's got to be a general manager, kind of to work with Charlie and the negotiating of how you split up the money for players. Plus, you want to see fundamentals, right? Better fundamentals as far as fielding and base running and behind the plate. And then so it's a combination of portal, recruiting, and coaching. How do you divvy all that up, Steve?
Well, I think you got to put people around him to help with all that stuff, right? I mean, obviously the recruiting piece is so much of it, but it's nobody's coming to Mississippi State just to play at Dudy Noble Field, right? And that can be the tiebreaker, right? But this is a different day and age where, cash moves everything, right? And so you've got to have somebody to help kind of, as you mentioned, kind of be your general manager to handle. I don't know that I want my coach negotiating those deals, right?
No, Charlie needs to do that, no doubt.
Yeah. I just want the baseball coach to coach baseball.
Right.
You know, that's the most important thing.
No, I mean, he knows what the budget will be. He'll go and pick the players, and then Charlie negotiates the deals. I see where you're going there. All right. I know for a fact of some head coaches that will take the job. Now, I'm not saying it's the one, like we kind of went over the A+ list, with Wes Johnson and Eric Bakich, Brian O'Connor. Not saying one of those is that guy. They already lifted a sitting head coach last time in Chris Lemonis from a Power 5 program in Indiana. They've done it with Mike Leach, Power 5 program, Washington State. Howland had just left UCLA. So this is not anything new in Starkville. So I think that, the expectations are to go get someone who is a sitting head coach and poach him. You've got to have an athletic director and whoever's going to be with him that's got the passion and the sales chops to go get that guy, and probably most of them are married, that guy and his wife and his family to move. How critical is that in this whole search?
Number one, Mississippi State in some respects sells itself, but you're going to have a closer, right? Just like you do in baseball, right? And you mentioned Greg Byrne hired John Cohen away from Kentucky,
Right.
So there's precedent. I mean, you think 2 of the last 3 head baseball coaches at Mississippi State were at Power 5 programs and came here. And so when I see I don't want to embarrass anybody, but I got a message yesterday, and somebody was recommending a junior college coach, and I didn't even respond. And then somebody digs up and says, hey, and they go get somebody from Polk's past. He was an assistant under Polk. Do you realize what year this is? Sometimes we forget how old we've all gotten, right?
Right.
It's like, we're going to go hire Bobby Wallace to run the football program. Those are the kinds of things that, that are important, right? But we don't, Mississippi State baseball doesn't have to go get the project scratch and dent coach in baseball. You might have to do it in other sports. People want to come here and coach, but you can't just take that for granted. You got to sell them on the whole thing. And this isn't a stop in the road. This is a destination job. And that's one of the things that I think that you have to go out. If I'm Zach Selman sitting across the table for a coach and said, hey, we're looking for a generational coach. We're looking for the next Ron Polk. We're looking for the guy that's going to be here 15, 20 years. We're looking for a guy that's going to stack up trophies. We're not looking for somebody just to be here to right the ship. That's what we're looking for. And if you're looking for something else, and if you just want to, this is a stop in the road for you, then this is not the place for you. And I think that's the approach you have to take. You don't take a job like a Mississippi State and LSU and Arkansas as a stepping stone, because there's nothing above it.
Steve Robertson on the Out of Bounds Show and the Farm Bureau Insurance Guest Line. All right, there's also going to be guys that you're talking to that make the postseason. So there's going to be a lot to navigate here down the stretch, Steve, depending on who's in the, who actually, Selman's got to figure out who actually wants it, and then from who he can sell. And then out of that group, who does he want? I mean, that's how this thing boils down. And how long is that team going to play in June? If they're still playing in June, right?
Yeah, because the portal opens up right after the regional, right? And so you've got to have a plan in place. And that's the thing too. I think you can do all your due diligence behind the scenes, right? And that's one of the things a lot of people were upset about yesterday is that the timing of it, and that it felt like Chris should have been given the balance of the season. And at the end of the day, this is business. And I don't know that the interest in the job, it's incredible the conversations I had last evening, with people that said, hey, so-and-so is movable, and this is going to work out good for Mississippi State because they're going to probably be the biggest job looking this year. So that, the timing of it all is a very good thing. But, at the end of the day, Mississippi State baseball is what it is. And Mississippi State baseball is a program that has high expectations. And so you need a coach that's going to come in and embrace those expectations. I don't need a guy that's going to come in here and say, we may win a national championship. I need somebody to come in here and say, hey, I come in here to win multiple national championships, and we're going to do whatever it takes to get that thing done. And I think that's probably the most important attribute of the coach is a guy that has grown and matured to a point that he is ready for a Mississippi State type job, not the other way around.
Sure. Do you have confidence that the athletic department is capable of pulling this off?
Yeah, and I think that's the $1 million question a lot of fans are asking because they say, well, Zach Selman was a football guy and maybe doesn't have the connections in baseball. And I do. I can tell you based on the conversation that I have had with Zach Selman, I feel very confident that he is going to go through a very judicious process, but also to a process that makes a lot of sense for Mississippi State. And I don't think that he is a guy that's going to be satisfied with the ground rule bubble. I think he is a guy that wants to win and win big. And I've seen some of the social media sentiment, people that say, well, Zach Selman doesn't care about baseball. I don't know where that comes from. I can't count the road series that I've gone and covered and Zach makes an appearance. He's there, and when his schedule is extremely busy, and there was a time, I guess we were at LSU, and that's when all this basketball stuff was going on too. And so he's making all these stops. But I can tell you, as a guy that speaks with Zach Selman regularly, he wants Mississippi State baseball to win national championships. It's not just a means to an end. It's a box he has to check each day to make sure that we have a baseball coach and that somebody opens the stadium on game day. He wants Mississippi State to win big. He understands that baseball is a huge part of the Mississippi State branding.
He doesn't have a choice.
I remember having a conversation after the Georgia debacle of last year. And there were some people on Zach's staff that Sunday after we won the series, after they had suspended, kicked all his players out of the game on Saturday, and poor old Cal Steven had to go up there and swing a bat that kind of won a ball game in the ninth inning on Saturday. I had some people on Zach Selman's staff that said, now I get it. Because I used to think I understood how much baseball meant to Mississippi State. But in the last 24 hours, I have learned exactly what baseball means to people at Mississippi State. And I know Zach Selman stepped on some toes when he released his statement ahead of the SEC office. And I know some people got upset about that. But I'm glad he did it. Because
who cares if you made some people mad?
But our people need to know, that he was willing to go out and fight for our team and for our coaching staff. And that's an important aspect of all of this. And that's one of the things that the Mississippi State, you and I have grown up in this, but I don't like the whole play nice thing. I mean, go take care of Mississippi State. Everybody else can figure out how to deal with it. Right.
All right, Steve, we appreciate it. Thanks, man. Yep. Steve Robertson on the Out of Bounds Show, ESPN 105.9 The Zone. We've got some text messages that we need to get into as far as the coaching search and the names. Your SEC Insider Hit this morning was brought to you by Blue Cross Blue Shield of Mississippi. It's good to be blue, the official healthcare provider of the Out of Bounds Show. Mike Detillier at 8:30.
Stand by for audio. Got it.
It's 8 a.m., and you're tuned to Mississippi's #1 choice for non-stop sports. The Out of Bounds Show with Bo Bounds.
Where am I?
On the Zone 105.9 and online at thezone1059.com.
Pressure cooker. That's Jackson Meadows. He stares pressure in the face every morning. And we know who backs down. Pressure. We are the Out of Bounds Show, 105.9 The Zone, ESPN. Brought to you by Kessler Prime. Steaks, bourbon. Great atmosphere. KesslerPrime.com to make a reservation. Jackson Meadows, could you smash a steak from Kessler Prime?
You don't want to know what I do to that. I get that, and I get some eggs from downstairs right now.
Ooh, those scrambled eggs at Beagle Bagel are good.
Come on.
They are. No doubt about it.
One of my favorite mixtures, steak and eggs.
I love steak and eggs. I do too.
Did Dr. Seuss write about that?
I think he did. Green eggs and ham?
That might have been it. That's the same thing, right?
No. Ham is not steak.
Close enough.
But you were kind of going down the right road.
That's right,
Yeah.
Eggs and meat.
Yeah, eggs and meat, no doubt. Lamb and eggs, steak and eggs. I'm all about it.
Had some lemon.
A really, really high-quality burger with a fried egg on it. Ooh, for brunch, lunch, or even at night. I mean, I can eat steak and eggs at night.
Had some lemon pepper rib tips over the weekend.
What? You had some lemon pepper
They were so good.
rib tips?
Yeah, they were incredible.
Well, who cooked them?
Where is that place? I think it's called 4th and Gold, maybe.
Okay.
It's a ducked off over there in DeVille Plaza.
All right. Well, good for you.
It was, and they were really good.
Do you eat them at the house?
Oh, of course.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, because I'm going all hands. I'm not using forks or anything like that.
Yeah, you got to go.
Yeah, so I'm going to the house.
Okay.
Go all hand. And man, if I
Do
had
you use any utensils at the house?
Who needs them?
Okay.
I mean, shoot, I thought about it the other day while I was using my hands.
Right?
Like, man, why wouldn't I do this? And why don't I do this in public?
I just ate a rib over there.
Yeah. Well, but a rib's an acceptable.
Well, that's true. That's most.
You have to
you
eat
do.
with hand,
Some people do
right?
cut off, but I mean, grabbing it,
Time out.
smashing a rib with a Tito's Bloody Mary on a late Saturday morning. My buddy Charlie Knighton picked up some ribs for me, and I'm just going to tell you they were amazing.
If I see you use silverware on some ribs, I'm getting up and walking it.
I get you. So here's what I did on Sunday. I went and took a long walk, and I came back. I had them on Saturday. I kind of grazed on them all day and night.
Yeah.
You know, we jumped in the lake this weekend.
Ooh, that was cold.
No, it wasn't bad at all. I don't remember the last time I got in April, but I was pretty proud. Even Wendy got in.
Global warming.
Something like that. And so, Hillary Clinton's going to solve climate change.
Well, she's sure going to get rich off of it.
But she already did.
Yeah.
So anyway, the point is we got in the water. That was fun. But I had these ribs, so I put them up on Saturday night. I get up, I take a good walk on Sunday, and I just come home. I get back, I reach in the fridge, grab a rib, smashed it.
Boom.
It doesn't get any better.
It's a great finger.
Saturday, Sunday morning ribs, or on vacation, whatever, when you don't have to go to work and stuff, is fabulous. So I'm glad that you had your tri-tips or whatever the hell you were talking about, and my ribs were amazing.
Yeah.
Did Mackenzie eat them?
She did.
Good.
She said they were very good.
Good. I have a feeling Mackenzie may be taking over the Christmas card list for 2025. So we'll yeah, I think so. So we'll get in more of that in October as that shakes out. We are the Out of Bounds Show, 105.9 The Zone, ESPN. We're live in the Bank Plus studio. Chris Lemonis fired after what was he there? 7 years, Jackson?
7.
I mean, I guess you count.
It's been 7.
2020 was a year. I mean, got paid. So did Mike Bianco and all the other
That
coaches.
counts then.
Yeah. Even though the the world kind of turned upside down around March 10th, which was about 3 weeks into that season. But the bottom line is Lemonis had many highs and many lows, and now they're making a change, and this is such a big boy hire in Starkville at Mississippi State. You know, they've been winning. I was trying to count the super regionals from Cohen to 2021. And so let's get this right. Cohen went to 3 super regionals. Canizero went to a super regional. His 1 full year, so that's 4. The next year when he got fired, Henderson and them went to a super regional. That's 5. Lemonis went in 2019. That's 6 super regionals. And he went in 2021. That's 7 super regionals. Is that right?
Sheesh.
And won 4 of them? And then played for a national championship twice and won 1. So I think I have that right. Right? All right. The Dancing Rabbit Golf text line, 601-885-3776. Because Cohen's 3 super regionals was at Florida, took it to game 3 with just a bunch of dirt bags. Didn't really have a lot of MLB players. Can't remember if Stratton was gone already. No, Stratton was there. I'm pretty sure. And then, of course, he goes again in 2013 because they played for the national championship, right? So you have to go through a super. Then he had the one against where Arizona came in, where Mangum and Rooker were on that team. Mangum will tell you that was, the best team that he was on. Remember, Jake went to 4 super regionals and 2 College World Series. So we keep marching on here. Canizero goes to a super. Gary Henderson goes to a super. Right. And Lemonis goes to 2. Right. So I got that right, didn't I?
That's correct.
Okay. All right. So that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 super regionals from 2010 to 2021. Played for 2 natties, won 1. Yep. And sent a bunch of players to the pros. So if you can't sell that, woo, and plus you in that time you built a stadium that's like no other in college baseball. Again, you've got the rigs or the lounges, whatever you want to call them, foul pole to foul pole. You got the lofts, you got the suites, you got several club level areas, premium seating, chairbacks, all that. All the stuff underneath. I mean, that weight room and all that stuff and the batting cage. I mean, all that stuff's cool. But you got to win. Now everybody in the league wants to win. In the 80s and 90s, that wasn't the case. But now everybody wants to win. And I know you could argue Missouri doesn't, but because they're 0-21, but you know what I mean. I mean, look at the bottom teams. South Carolina and Mississippi State are at the bottom, and they've won and played for 5 national championships in the 2000s. South Carolina played for 3. Mississippi State played for 2. South Carolina won 2. MSU won 1. Like we were talking about, Kentucky's been to the CWS. Right. Nick Mingione last year. So the coaching search is on. Can you pull a big name? It is extremely difficult. Baseball coaches don't move like football and basketball coaches. They just don't. There is something about baseball and baseball coaches where, Mike Bianco, he tried to get out that one time and then ended up coming back. He met the LSU AD and they couldn't figure it out and blah, blah, blah. And LSU goes with Jay Johnson and Mike Bianco comes back and he's on the hot seat and he wins the national title. But he's been there for 24 years. But when you look around the country, Corbin's been at Vandy forever. O'Sullivan at Florida forever. Brian O'Connor at Virginia forever. I tell you who is the rare exception is Eric Bakich. He's proven that he'll move. Now, he's at Clemson now. But he was at Maryland. He moved to Michigan. They played for the national title against Vanderbilt. Then he moved to Clemson. So can you poach a big name? We'll see. Mike Detillier at 8:30 on the NFL Draft. Hey, the Out of Bounds Show is brought to you by Grit Training Facility on Lakeland Drive. Brand new batting cages at Grit on Lakeland Drive behind Ergon. Grit Training Facility. Memberships available. Indoor, outdoor, turf, pitching mounds. Brand new batting cages. It's all there. Grit Training Facility. Grit Training Facility. On Lakeland Drive, and that is basically behind Ergon or the Ergon Lake.
You got to wear a shirt out there?
You don't.
What? No way.
Do you want to go out there and not wear a shirt?
I mean, I wasn't going to go out there and wear a shirt.
I'll be honest, there's no muscle tone on you.
Don't need it.
And you are pasty white.
That's it.
It's not a good look.
No, it's admirable.
You're either going to have to get in the sun or start to work out a little bit.
I'm not doing that. Let's go with the former.
Okay. Well, if you can't tone it, tan it.
Tan it. I like that.
But I don't think you've gotten out in the sun much.
Don't need. I don't know. Been out there a little bit. I'm not enough yet. I need to get my base burn in for the summer. I don't tan. We burn.
You burn? Well, I know. I mean, I can tell.
Yeah, we burn real well
from the skin. Do you put on SPF?
What is it? What now? Is that like ERA?
No, well, close, but it's just
no.
You don't put on any kind of sunblock.
I mean, if somebody sprays it on me or something, maybe.
Okay, so you just want to look like a lobster.
Well, I mean,
yeah. Well, those red boxes over there. Are we on YouTube?
Yeah. If
all right, these red boxes are that Budweiser, Clydesdale. What is that? A Stein?
Yeah, Stein.
Yeah, Stein. So, or that Atlanta Braves. Hey, there's an Ole Miss shirt over there that's got that's what kind of red you would get.
Yeah, it looked
lobster red.
Yeah, it looked great.
Yeah. Did you get out in the sun any this weekend?
Yes.
Okay.
I may have actually grounded.
Good.
Yeah, how about that? I was out back all day with the dogs.
Okay.
My dogs, not the dogs.
Yeah. Not Mississippi State.
No, I wanted to actually have fun.
Yeah. I understand.
I want to hang around some wolves.
I didn't watch, Wendy made me watch the game and this is weird because Wendy's, she's can take it or leave it.
Right, passive.
But all of a sudden she's like, I'm like, why did you pick the year that you wanted to watch Mississippi State baseball when they're not good?
Right.
So we were going around on the boat on Sunday, and finally it was 2:08. I don't know why I remember that. Nice. She was like, "Well, let's go back in, sit on the back porch, and pour a beverage and watch the game." And I was like, "Really?" And of course, it was out of control, and Auburn was winning big, but. I can't. She's decided to get into it, which never happened.
Right.
She's been to games, right?
Yeah, because she don't care.
Right. And later in the year she'll go because the sun's out. But I don't know what's happened. But she's
turned.
Hell, she wanted to play it. She wanted to watch it Friday night. And Ella Hall was at the house, so we played Trivial Pursuit. You remember I went and got the to-go order from Aplos?
Yep. Oh, Trivial Pursuit, that's my game.
And so she was like, well, turn on the game. I said, no. She went, well, you're just a ton of fun or whatever. So I didn't turn it on. We played Trivial Pursuit.
I like
but she wanted to watch it in the background. They didn't win. No. They won on Saturday, which was more of a get outside,
Oh, yeah,
boat
great day.
Yeah. You can watch it on your phone. I can pull it up on, and I do, but I'm not like pitch to pitch. Like Ole Miss fans are pitch to pitch right now, as they should be. You look at this RPI.
Yeah, you're looking to host, yeah.
Okay, so Ole Miss is 18th.
Yeah,
all right.
Host.
And so they met, they're right there. They're 31-13. They're 12-9. In league play. They go to Oklahoma this weekend. Mike Bianco's going to coach. He's going to outlast this next Mississippi State baseball coach.
Oh, yeah, no doubt.
Even if this guy Lemonis stayed 7 years.
Yeah. He smoked
Mike
him.
didn't even think twice about it. He's like, man, I'll lap another 7.
7. What is 7?
7 years from now, Mike Bianco will still be the head baseball coach at Ole Miss. Again, we may go through nuclear war. He will still be. And if we do, you want to be by Mike Bianco.
Yeah, figure out what
because he's going to be there standing when everything's
right.
Done, said and done, and he's still going to be wearing that Ole Miss baseball uniform.
I'd love to know what the amount of things that he's heard, about his tenure.
Oh, and now that
I know he doesn't care.
Now
whatsoever.
that he's 18th in RPI, let's see, they have 7. They're 7-4 on the road. 21-7 at home, 3-2 on a neutral field. They just beat Mississippi State last week on a walk-off. They go to Oklahoma it's all in front of them. Oklahoma this weekend.
Easy peasy.
In Norman.
Sure.
Starkville the next, and then Auburn at home. That's not an easy. State's the weakest team out of those 3. Obviously,
Right.
Oklahoma has a nice team.
Man.
Auburn has a nice team. Ole Miss has a nice team. But let's see where Auburn is. Damn, Bama's 14th in the RPI. Kentucky, Nick Mingione. He's going to be mentioned as a candidate for the Mississippi State job because he coached under John Cohen and he's been at Kentucky for a while, right? Nick Mingione, he's 29th. That's not bad in the RPI.
Yeah.
Dallas Baptist. Hefner, who you called Hefner?
Yeah, Hugh.
Yeah. Hugh Hefner. Dan Hefner. Dallas Baptist, right? They're 24th. They're 30-13. Wake Forest coach. He's been on hot boards left and right. What is his name? Walter. Does it really matter at the end of the day?
He's not gonna be here.
He has Wake at 25. Skip Johnson. Oklahoma's been a solid baseball program. Surely they're not going to go hire him. I don't know why he would leave at 58 years old, but good Lord, I don't think that does anything for anybody. Who else was I looking at? Oh, Southern Miss. Ostrander, Coach Oz. Southern Miss is 31st in RPI.
How about that?
They're 31-13, 12-7 on the road, 18-5 at home, 1-1 on a neutral site. How about that? I don't know where they played neutral site games. Somebody will have to tell me. Anything else jump out at me as far as coaches in this group? Clemson.
Yeah.
My number 1 guy, Eric Bakich, number 8, 36-10. It's going to be damn near an impossible pull, but I still think you got to go in guns a-blazing.
They can say no.
Right.
But, you get Hefner, then everyone wears robes. I'm sold on it.
I love that. People partying in robes out in the left field lounge
on.
while cooking, ribeye poppers.
Come on.
Or Wagyu ribeye poppers and everything else.
Fan favorite, quick.
See, for you would do a couple of themes. A couple of the home series would be just, you have to wear a robe.
If you want to get in the game, I would suggest wearing a robe.
And you don't want anybody to be wearing anything else.
No, I don't want these cheap little Walmart bathrobes. You need to have something that looks good.
Yeah. A little silk?
A little silk, it's got to look good.
Real silk, though, right? European? Okay.
I guess so.
Yeah. Not that like mid-level hotel robe.
No.
You're thinking when you get to go to
No.
one of the nicer ones?
Yeah.
Okay. Ritz-Carlton level silk
I'm talking about nice.
from like East Italy.
And look good and wear it right.
Do you have a robe?
Oh, yeah. Silk.
Nice. All right. Mike Detillier coming up next. We are the Out of Bounds Show. We're brought to you by the Armory, Lake Harbor and Ridgeland for all your firearms and suppressors and optics. The Armory, Lake Harbor and Ridgeland. Detillier next. Hey, if you're looking to put up a video wall in your lobby of your business, your school, your hospital, your lobby, call Sound and Communications today. SoundcomAV.com. SoundcomAV.com. Your next video wall at your business, hospital, school is powered by Sound and Communications. SoundcomAV.com. Good morning. Welcome in. We're live in the Bank Plus studio. This is 105.9 The Zone ESPN. We welcome in Saints insider Mike Detillier, WWL Radio TV New Orleans. Mike D joins us on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. And Mike D, what did you make of Derek Carr was, I guess, preaching at a church in Las Vegas recently and was talking about his injury and was taking some shots at people that said that he wasn't injured. Where do you think all of this is headed, Mike D?
Your guess is as good as mine on this. It's a strange situation. I mean, the only thing we sort of knew about Derek Carr was, personal tragedy. And I think sometimes we kind of treat athletes as robots, as they're compartmentalized, that, his wife had a miscarriage. And certainly with that, hearts and prayers go out to the family. But he really didn't say anything more than we had known before, to be honest with you, and that he was still waiting to see, what the doctors were going to tell him about his shoulder. So other than, the personal stuff with him, and certainly that's a big deal, anytime you lose a child, that I don't know anything more, Bo, than I did 3 weeks ago, to be honest with you.
Okay. So, I mean, at the end of the, so we don't know the extent of the injury. Is that accurate, Mike?
We don't know the extent of the injury, and I can say people in that Saints front office were caught off guard with his announcement. And I'm not just talking about the guy who sweeps the floors. I'm talking about people in the upper management that were just caught off guard that his people leaked that information out about his shoulder. That didn't come from the Saints. That came from Derek Carr. And I get you might be angry about, some things social media-wise, but
go. You have to take the European on break.
So I don't quite get, his rant about what he felt was wrong. I don't get what he's trying to kind of finger point here as far as, things that he says, social media-wise or media has created. Didn't he create this?
I think so.
People create this? But he doesn't want to take any blame for anything. Nothing. Had this come out, after the season that, hey, listen, I've got a shoulder injury and we're taking a look at it and see what happens, that's fine. But he's sort of, pointing that finger everywhere else but his own team. And I'm talking about team of agents, advisors, whatever on this. I'm a little confused, Bo, of what he was trying to get across at that point. Blaming the media for misinformation. Well, all you had to do was come out and say it, right? Wouldn't that have cleared it up? Instead, you've been dead silent since the end of the season. I haven't said one thing, not a word.
All right. So do you expect, and I guess we may not know, but are you expecting a divorce eventually, or for them to, I guess, identify this mysterious shoulder injury. I guess he'll be okay, and he and Kellen Moore get on the same page. How do you see this unfolding, Mike D?
Well, because of the finances involved, you cannot cut him this year after June 1st. It would accelerate tremendously, the salary cap situation. So one way or another, he's on the Saints roster. If he's playing or not remains to be seen. But he's on the Saints roster for the 2025 season. Now, after 2025, he's not here anymore. And it'll be most likely a post-June 1st cut in 2026. And we're talking about next year now. A 2026 release of Derek Carr. Because of the fact that you still owe him $59 million.
Good Lord.
Off the books. I mean, it is a kind of crazy version of Monopoly when you look at it, but it is accurate that you're going to have to kind of rearrange things. And so he's on the books if he's playing or not playing in 2025. He's on this Saints team. And when you had an out after 2025, if you wanted it, you had an out, but you decided as a team to go to the Bank of Carr and get money to play in free agency. You did it a year ago. Once you made that decision, then, you got to accept that you're going to have to deal with the financial part of all this. It's, you kind of checkmated here.
Do you think Miss
But once you made that decision last fall to do it, that was the point of no return.
Okay. Do you think Miss Benson is upset with the decisions that have been made in the front office like this one?
I don't know if she is, but I know I would. I know I would, and I know who I'd be upset at. I'm sure she was informed when that decision was made. I'm fairly certain of that. She was informed of it at that time. But, and I know one thing, I wouldn't be real happy about what I've seen, my results, and that one major move has crippled your franchise financially.
All right. Do you expect him to be the starting quarterback week 1, Derek Carr, for the Saints?
Saturday, and saying if he's healthy, he would be. And I agree with that if, and that's a big if he's healthy, he would be. But, I mean, we really don't know anything more about his health today than we did when he first, his team leaked it out to the press. So I would expect that if he's healthy, he would be the starter.
Okay. Why do you think he's doing? I mean, if he knows the numbers too, and he knows what the Saints can and can't do with his contract, why do you think Mike Detillier that Derek Carr is operating like this?
Because I think he really was looking to get out. I think he was looking to force a trade. But, if that was out there, and nobody would accept that contract no matter what. I mean, to be honest, nobody's trading for him and accepting that contract. Now, would some teams have an interest in him if he were cut loose and you kind of sustained that huge salary cap hit? I think probably you would have a couple teams, because now they can do the terms, kind of on their side, and he gets his money no matter what. That's the cut of this But no matter what, he's getting paid. If it's from the Saints or if it's from another team, he's getting his money. It's guaranteed. I've always felt this was his way to try to work his way out of New Orleans, knowing that he's just a bridge guy here.
Okay, do you think they pull a Broncos and eat it? And
No, I do not think that way.
Okay.
Do not.
Okay.
I think that was a lot having to do with Coach Sean Payton saying enough's enough. And listen, let's eat it this year, and we'll deal with the consequences. I don't think the Saints organization wants to admit that they made a mistake with Derek Carr.
Oh,
And
wow.
sometimes, listen, you can make a mistake, Bo. We all do. You know, any team, we all do in life and personal stuff. We all make mistakes. Admitting it is, and moving on is the best route. The worst thing in the world is to know you made a mistake and you keep it. I'm going to show you I was right. And you know you're wrong. You know you're wrong about it.
Okay. Mike Detillier, WWL Radio TV New Orleans. He joins us on the Farm Bureau Insurance Guest Line. Show is brought to you by Sound and Communications. Your next video wall is brought to you by soundcomav.com. All right, so this looks like a disaster. We'll see if and when Derek Carr gets healthy. The Saints they have to eat all $59 million, or if they move him at some point, does another team share some of that, Mike D?
Well, if you cut him, you eat it.
Okay.
Now, in a trade situation, they would take on that contract, so you would share it. But if I'm another team, why would I want to do that? You're not going to give me a good reason, Bo. I'm going to just tell you, you're not going to give me a good reason why. It's, another team would have an interest, but on their own terms, financially, not on the Saints' terms. That's not going to work. But for the Saints, they kind of caught in a checkmate situation here, where any move you make is going to trigger financial difficulties. Now, if you cut him post June 1st next year, then you can split that up. Basically split the salary in half for 2026 and 2027. And I think that would be the amicable thing to do financially. But you still caught. There is no easy way out, put it to you that way. No easy way out.
All right, so if he's not healthy, this could be a Spencer Rattler, Tyler Shuck battle in New Orleans, Mike? Is that what you think? How do you see it?
Yes. Yeah, if he's not healthy, then it's a battle. And to be honest with you, if you know early, you're going to have to go out and get a veteran quarterback somewhere. If it's a free agent signee, if it's through a trade, you're going to have to go out and get a veteran quarterback. You can't go into the season with a second-year Spencer Rattler, a third-year Jake Hayner, and a rookie quarterback. That ain't working. You're going to have to go out and get you a veteran quarterback. If you know, say, in June, you're going to have to know.
Okay. All right. Mike Detillier on the Out of Bounds Show. Do you, with Kelvin Banks Jr., the offensive tackle out of Texas in the first round, and Tyler Shuck out of Louisville. For Saints fans, if you were busy over the weekend, the Saints took Tyler Shuck out of Louisville at the number 40 pick in the draft. Mike just said if Derek Carr's not healthy, it's going to be a Spencer Rattler, Tyler Shuck, and maybe whatever crumbs are left on the street, veteran. Jameis Winston's already found a home. Gardner Minshew's found a home. So, we'll see how that all looks. Mike, did you like those two draft picks, Kelvin Banks from Texas and Tyler Shuck from Louisville?
Yeah, I understood it too, because if you've hit, and I use the word if you've hit here, then you could have two places that are the most important on your football team, left tackle and quarterback, settled for 10 or 12 years. If you've hit, again, it's the if part. I like Kelvin Banks, and it's funny. We had Archie on last night, and in leading up to the interview, I told Arch I was going to ask him about Kelvin Banks, and he said, "Well, I'll tell you something I think Saints fans will like," and that basically being that he and Lil Arch were talking last year. And Lil Arch tells him that Kelvin Banks Jr. was the best football player on the Texas football team.
Damn.
I'm like, whoa, hey, that's pretty sweet. When you're talking about that team got some players on it.
Sure.
I mean, they're not devoid of talent by any stretch of the imagination. And Lil Arch felt Kelvin Banks was the best player on that team and a great leader. That he used that term, quiet but great leader on that team. So, man, that's really saying something when you make that comment about a certain guy. That is pretty good.
Yeah.
To make that comment, and that's coming from a player. That's not coming from some draft analyst or somebody that is pulling that out of the sky. That's coming from a guy that's in the huddle with him. That told me a lot. If Lil Arch felt that way about him.
Wow.
He really, really did. And so when Arch told me I got something to say, and I think Saints fans will like it, I knew it was not going to be anything negative. Put it to you that way. That's not the way Archie works. So, but I was impressed with that. That the quarterback would say that about an offensive tackle, and he's the best player on this team. That's a huge compliment. Huge compliment.
Okay. Let's go to, I don't think people were surprised that Shedeur Sanders dropped in the draft, but the way he dropped, were you shocked, surprised at what happened, unfolded over the weekend?
I can't say I was shocked. I'm going to say I was a little surprised how far he dropped in the draft. But I can't say I was shocked with it. You were surprised he lasted that long. That's a long ride. That's a really, 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 really long ride for him to stay. But I think, Bo, it came down to, did you want to be part of the kind of circus of events that could potentially happen, if things don't work out or if things go awry? Let's put it this way. If things happen where, your quarterback is struggling and you need help, and Shedeur's not the one the coach calls on right away. That's what I think is the fearful part of this. If you're a coach or if you're a general manager, do you get caught in the vortex of the tornado of events that could happen, where you might have, Coach Prime talking about certain things and taking a shot and everything else. So you can understand that perfectly, of why he lasted longer than expected. But I'll be honest, it lasted a lot longer than I think anyone would have thought. I don't care what people say today. It lasted much, much longer than anybody could have imagined.
All right. Well, let me switch gears. Have you had a chance to talk to new general manager of the New Orleans Pelicans, Joe Dumars?
Bo, you broke up. Say it one more time.
Have you had an opportunity to catch up with Joe Dumars?
No, I haven't. We had the interview process go on, but we haven't had him on. He's trying to move back down here, so we haven't had an opportunity to get to one-on-one with him.
That was my favorite team in the 80s, even over the Lakers and Celtics. I loved Isaiah Dumars and Vinny the Microwave Johnson and Chuck Daly. And, of course, Rodman Lambeer, Mahorn, Sally were kind of roaming around in the post. But it could be a good hire. You know, the Pelicans need God bless them, they need a reboot and a jump start.
I wish he could play again.
Me too. Me too.
He could play. The crazy thing about Joe, Joe comes from a small town in Louisiana, and those bad boys, man, they never shut up. But one thing with Joe never said anything. Joe was the quietest one of the bunch. He just let his play do all his talking for him. He was one hell of a player. And early on,
he was.
As an administrator, he had great success.
He did.
But, boy, it fell apart. And that's why I want to see what he puts around him to give him advice on selecting players, on acquiring players.
Mm-hmm.
I always think that is the key to any success for any GM, is having people around you to give you good info. I said this before about Howie Roseman and the Eagles. They have 22 scouts. 22. And all I'm telling you is that's a lot of guys pumping you information.
Yeah, it's impressive what Jeffrey Lurie has done and what Howie Roseman have done with the Philadelphia Eagles. Mike D, we'll get more into that a little bit later. We appreciate you. Have a great week, buddy.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it, Bo.
Mike Detillier, WWL Radio TV New Orleans, Saints Insider. What are we going to do with Derek Carr? And what's the extent of the injury? We're going to play some of that audio in hour number 3. He was at a church in Las Vegas, and he started talking about his shoulder. He's not happy with, and I bet the Saints aren't happy either. Are they going to be able to get back together? Hour number 3 coming up.
Say, kids, what time is it?
It's 9 a.m. and this ain't okay show. It's the Out of Bounds Show with Bo Bounds. As Mississippi's #1 morning show rolls on the Zone 105.9 and online at thezone1059.com.
Good morning. We are the Out of Bounds Show. We're brought to you by Superior Foundation for all your foundation repairs. If you need French drains or foundation repairs, Superior Foundation. Also presented by Grit Training Facility on Lakeland Drive. Brand new baseball cages, indoor and outdoor turf. Grit Training Facility. Memberships available. You can work out while your son or daughter is in the batting cage or on the pitching mound or one of the turf fields. Grit Training Facility on Lakeland behind Ergon and Ergon Lake. We are the, or whatever they call it, Mirror Lake, or I should know that. Anyway, it's not coming to me. We are the Out of Bounds Show. I'm your host, Bo Bounds. Jackson Meadows with me. Y'all know the story of the day when a Big Three coach gets fired in Starkville or Oxford. You know, that's going to dominate the deal. Ole Miss is on a run here with Lane's not going anywhere unless somebody poaches him. And he's kind of on a rehab image tour, which is fascinating. Chris Beard is coming off a Sweet 16. Obviously, Lane's won big the last 6 years in Oxford. And then Mike Bianco, he'll be there forever. Yep. So they're going to go to a regional they may host. They go to Oklahoma, to Starkville, and then host Auburn. So that's Ole Miss's 9 conference games. At Oklahoma, in Norman, Oklahoma has a pretty good team. They go to Mississippi State. Mississippi State's not good. And then they host Auburn, and Auburn's got a pretty damn good team. And a phenomenal, Ole Miss has got a good one, but Auburn has an insane RPI or SO, whatever it is. RPI. They're number 4. So to give you an idea of what the SEC looks like RPI wise, Texas is number 1 in RPI. Georgia's number 2. Vanderbilt's number 3. Auburn's number 4, and Arkansas's number 5. So the first 5 teams are SEC. Texas. So let's go through that. Schlossnagel at Texas.
What?
All right. Wes Johnson at Georgia. Tim Corbin at Vanderbilt. And Butch Thompson at Auburn. And Dave Van Horn at Arkansas. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the RPI. Ole Miss is in a good spot there at number 18. If they can take 2 or 3 on the road this weekend at Oklahoma, that will be a big bump for them because Oklahoma's 23. So you're on the road. You have a chance to win the series. If you win it on the road against a team that's 23rd in RPI, hey, you're that much closer to hosting, right? You're 12-9 in league play. You have 9 games left to get to 30, plus you have the SEC tournament, just like everybody does. But the first 5 teams are SEC, and then the next SEC team, then it goes to ACC, okay? I will give ACC credit in baseball. They're good. Yeah. And then who's next? LSU at number 9, Jay Johnson, okay, from Arizona. He's ripped Ole Miss's heart out and Mississippi State's.
Yes.
Not awesome. Just as soon him go to the Detroit Tigers.
Right.
Tennessee is at 10, Tony Vitello, right? Every single mom's dream in the SEC. And then what? Bama at 14, and then Ole Miss at 18. Oh, and Florida's right there by Ole Miss. They're knocking on the door with Ole Miss. They're 19th. So O'Sully Sullivan's got that thing maybe back going a little bit.
No way. He started rolling back.
God, they have an insane RPI. But what are they in the?
No way. I mean,
they're 8-13.
Wow, so he came back.
But his
well,
RPI is incredible. So if he can get to 13, 14 wins, he can
how did he
do what
that?
they need to do. I guess they played an crazy non-conference schedule. I don't keep up with Florida non-conference.
What?
I don't.
Come on.
Derek McCoy, who is claims to be a Georgia Bulldog. Well, he's one of 4 Georgia Bulldog baseball fans. Put some respect on Georgia's name, Bo. Okay.
All right. I mean,
well, look, they hired Wes Johnson from LSU. So Wes Johnson had been at Mississippi State, then Minnesota Twins, or then Arkansas. I can't remember. And then LSU, and then Georgia hired him. And I give Josh Brooks, the athletic director at Georgia, who was the athletic director at Millsaps.
Nice.
Because we used to go to lunch at the Manship when he was at Mills. He's the one that brought beer to campus.
Oh, yeah.
He got that thing done.
Well, applaud that guy. They need something happen over there.
Well, he did. This was years, he got them to serve beer. Now, Southern Miss, Mississippi State, Ole Miss, all serve beer and wine and, liquor now on campus, I assume. Well, I know they do. Because why not? Hey, I had a beer at Lane Kiffin's press conference where he was announced as the head coach in the pavilion.
Nice, yeah. As you should have.
Yeah. Why
wow.
not? I mean, if I'm going to sit through another press conference, then why not sip on a cold beer at the pavilion? The Dancing Rabbit Golf text line is 601-885-3776. Zach Selman and the team are locked in on replacing Chris Lemonis. And, where is this thing going to go? Does it have to be a sitting head coach? No. But you sure of course, Lemonis was a sitting head coach. He had been under Dan McDonnell as the top assistant at Louisville for several years. Then he went to Indiana, and Indiana's a very difficult place to win. He had gone to a couple regionals. And then Lemonis, of course, walked into a good situation, even with all the craziness from Cohen to Canizero to Gary Henderson. He walked into Jake Mangum and Tanner Allen and all those guys.
That's pretty nice.
And he took advantage. They go to a College World Series in 2019 and win the national championship in 2021. And nothing's been, look, they got home and I don't know why they didn't read the room the right way. Tanner Allen and Rowdy Jordan leave and they walked it back. They ran it back with a bunch of solid role players when you needed to go get some dudes. And then they had some guys last year, David Mershon and Cal Steven. Those guys were dudes. And the dude behind the plate that was there for a year, he wasn't a Power 5. He wasn't an SEC starter, but when Ross Highfield got hurt, he had to be. But he was the chip on the shoulder guy. He's the one that got into it with Georgia.
That's right.
And really kind of had that dog in him. You've got some nice kids and some, good players on the team, but you got to have that. I mean, look at LSU. Look at LSU. Look at Tennessee. Ole Miss hit on the portal, and they got some dogs on their team. This could be a team that's getting revved up as we get into May in a day or two. And this could be a team, if they've got enough pitching, this could be a team that, they got beat 13-0 on Sunday and run ruled. But they still, if they can find enough pitching, they've got some dogs on the team.
I got it.
Some alphas that they hit on. And being a good player is great, but being a player that just absolutely refuses to lose and can drive the dugout to win and win big is a piece of the puzzle. We know that when they've won big in Oxford and Starkville. We're live in the Bank Plus studio. Good morning. Welcome into the Out of Bounds Show. All right, let's go. Let's go to the text line. Dancing Rabbit Golf text line 601-885-3776. Bo, I'm an LSU fan. You cannot have Jay Johnson. No, they missed that window. They could have, but they missed that window. Bulldog Blitz, in an ideal world, you go after Vitello, but that ain't happening.
No.
Pollard went to grad school at State. He's from Durham. UNC guy's done a good job too. Yeah, Pollard's done a good job. Res Dog says, Bo, you're bringing it this morning. I like it. Well, look, the bottom line is there's a lot of pressure on campus to get this right, as it should be. It's been one bad decision after another for a long time. And now you're stuck with, I guess, basketball is your best program. Football was an absolute disaster last year at 2-10. You can't go 2-10 and keep people's interest up. That's why they're taking a bath on season tickets. People are giving up, not renewing, their seats. And again, suites will always be full on SEC campuses, I guess outside of Vandy possibly, although Vandy's got a better program today with Diego Pavia and everything that they've been able to do. Diego Pavia is my favorite quarterback in college football, by the way, but I think y'all know that from last year. One, I love the name. Two, he's awesome. He's a baller, and he just absolutely abused Alabama. I mean, was that beautiful or what? I mean, the guy who would have ever thought that the Vanderbilt offensive line would dominate the Alabama defensive line in modern day football? You know, that first touchdown when they were on the 4-yard line and they blew Bama off the ball and ran it in, I thought, this is a whole new ball game that we're watching. And remember when they ran out the clock? Usually that's when Bama stops you, you punt, and they come back and they win by like 3 or 4. And Vanderbilt ran through Bama like they were a JV high school team to run out the clock last year. Diego Pavia can ball. And he's making Clark Lee Motors look like Vince Lombardi, because Clark Lee should have been fired the year before he was able to bring in Diego Pavia, but because Vanderbilt doesn't care, they didn't fire him. And I'll be damned if he didn't go and lift the New Mexico. Will you look it up? New Mexico State staff. Got the head coach to come in as a consultant, hired the OC, hired 2 more coaches, brought in several players, including Diego Pavia, and boom, the rest is history. They were fun to watch.
They were awesome.
Diego Pavia is probably making, I don't know, $2 million? Yeah. Vanderbilt wasn't pumping any money into their NIL, and then all of a sudden they woke somebody up on Broadway or out in Belmead or any number of places, because a running ton of Vanderbilt alums are obviously in New York and San Francisco and Chicago and so on. And then all of a sudden, magically in 5 seconds, Vanderbilt came up with $10 million.
Right.
Hadn't even put $1 in their NIL account. And then they thought, well, this winning's kind of fun. But I think Diego Pavia, man, wow. Quarterback, man. DJ Lagway at Florida, Diego Pavia at Vandy, and Arch Manning at Texas, and Nussmeier at LSU. It could
stout.
It could get serious.
Good quarterback room.
Yeah.
Which then will be first rounders.
Lenore Sellers, South Carolina.
I like him.
Yeah. I saw Andy Staples had South Carolina at number 12, Ole Miss at number 19, I think, preseason.
Wow.
Yeah. A bunch of SEC teams were in the top 10. But actually, his first 3 or 4 were not SEC. The funny part about that, I did notice that. It didn't start with Georgia and Bama until like the 5th team or 6th team. He had Ohio State and Oregon and Clemson. Clemson supposedly has 4 first-round picks. So maybe they've been able to keep their program, their team intact, even though Dabo has not liked the NIL. But they've been able to retain through pumping money into their collective. However you want to do it, it's fine. I mean, if you can get old and keep everybody there, that's great. Bama was able to. Did you see what happened at Bama this past portal? Nobody went in the portal.
Yeah. That's the best way.
So they were prepared. They weren't even pumping money. I mean, look, there's nobody that's paid players under the table better than Alabama the last 60 years. But they weren't even think about how much money Vanderbilt's got, and they weren't pumping money in there. Well, neither was Florida. And then they got, going. The first ones were Ole Miss, A&M, Missouri, a couple other teams, Ohio State. But you had a bunch of programs with an enormous amount of money that were not pumping money in their NIL. And then I guess Bama just loaded the boat and threw it on some players after, losing dude to Ohio State, who's supposed to go top 4 next year in the draft, and some other things. So, but yeah, I just circle all the way back to Mississippi State. Football was a running disaster, 2-10, and you got embarrassed by Toledo and Arkansas. You can't do that and expect people to come back. You got your core group, and you're glad to have that core group. The core, Ole Miss doesn't have to worry about this right now because they're winning. But the core, the floor has been raised so much in Starkville and Oxford from that core group that's in, because they're so bought in with good tickets and they have condos and homes up in those towns. But 2-10 and getting blown out by Toledo and Arkansas is not going to get anybody excited. Now, are you going to be better? Oh my God, you were 2-10.
You don't have a choice.
Surely you're going to be better. What are you telling me? 3-9, 4-8.
Yeah, none of those are appetizing. I don't like it.
That was profound. Thank you for weighing in there. I think that you
cut him.
I tell you what, man, you've brought a lot to the show today.
Dude, I'll just do what I can.
Yeah. Well, you've
trying to fire everybody.
You are trying to fire everybody.
Why not?
You weren't you've kind of changed as you've gotten older.
Yeah, much more cynical.
No doubt. You thought everybody was awesome.
Yeah,
you were Shaggy, in Scooby Doo when you joined us the first time, and very naive. You loved. Everybody was awesome.
Oh, they're still awesome.
Yeah, and now, but your best program in Starkville is the Mississippi State basketball program, and Jans has done a good job all in all.
And also, to be fair,
now I'll say they've done some good work in the portal. I'm impressed with the guy from Georgetown, the guy from Wichita State, the guy from Arizona State, and the guy from wherever he's from. That portal haul, you don't ever know, but to go get Epps at the end and got to find one other guy, I think it's a nice group. And you got a lot more length, and looks like you got a rim protector for basketball. But everybody, eyes are on baseball. New head coach. You will have a new head coach in the next few weeks. Zach Selman has never hired a baseball coach. And his football coach that he hired is Jeff Levy. I see the text that, Bo, is Mississippi State going to hire an Oklahoma hitting coach or pitching coach? I think they're actually going to stay away from just going and hiring somebody from Norman, Oklahoma on this one.
Oh my gosh.
This is a big time. This is a big hire for a lot of people on the Mississippi State University campus. And hopefully there's a lot of focus, sense of urgency, and understanding that you have to drop a guy in and win next year. And you should be able to. You should be able to get in a regional and make a strong push for a super and possibly Omaha. That's brought to you by the Wings and Street Tacos at Two Brothers. Oh, man. Good morning, Chris Lemonis. Fired yesterday. Things just didn't go well post-national championship. And now they're in a coaching search in Starkville, Mississippi. Goodness gracious. Are they going to be able to get this thing going? They didn't give Charlie any help with the Bulldog Initiative, whether that was on campus, which then led to off campus. And now they're pumping in revenue share money, millions and millions and millions in football. They just spent a fortune in basketball picking up those 5 players that we talked about, which is good. I mean, you got to buy assets. What are assets, Jackson? Players. If you don't have assets, people don't go to the game because you're not winning. If you do have assets, people go to the game, good ones, because you're winning. By the way, congratulations to Ole Miss on hitting on several baseball players in the portal. They may not be great. You don't have to be. I mean, 18th RPI, things are looking good. So I'll be interested to see what Justin Parker does over the next few weeks. I think that ship sailed. I just don't think that there's not an appetite to do that. So he gets an opportunity to coach, I guess, 4 weeks, counting the SEC tournament, and get a little bit of that. He may be back, I guess, as a pitching coach. That's something that you could work out, possibly, depending on who you hire. I mean, look, there's 24 guys that could work, probably more than that. So you don't have to have Tony Vitello to win big at Mississippi State. And again, the interesting part of John Cohen is the one alpha that he hired. Well, Chris Jans is one too. I mean, Chris is a crazy man. He's going to have to actually settle down a little bit on his approach as far as coaching players. And I'm all for discipline and accountability. But the interesting part about Cohen is he was such a dog and such an alpha. And again, he and Mullen, even though they don't like each other, were built the right way. I mean, there was so many similarities between the two as far as, they wanted to MF somebody as early as they could in the morning and ran a tight ship, super intense, great focus, unbelievable organizational skills. And it's the reason why they had so much success, right? But Joe Moorhead's wasn't an alpha, Mike Leach wasn't an alpha, and Chris Lemonis wasn't an alpha. And that's interesting hires considering who Cohen is. Now, he got it right on Andy Cannizzaro, who was an assistant under Maneri at LSU. And the strong rumors are that, once John Cohen got beat on Tanner Allen by Andy Cannizzaro, he filed that. Okay? Because it was a Mississippi State LSU battle and so on, and Cannizzaro wrapped him up to go to LSU. Right? He's committed. He was committed to LSU for a long time. And then when John made the play for the athletic director position and Dr. Keenum decided to go that direction and hire him, Cohen went and got Andy Cannizzaro. And then Andy Cannizzaro, in about a 24 to 48 hour period, flipped Tanner Allen from LSU to Mississippi State. Well, y'all know how that worked out. He started from day one and was the 2021 National Player of the Year. I mean, just incredible, the big moments that he had. And he was one of those dogs, right, that we talk about, him and Mangum and all those guys. So, and Tanner Allen texted me last night and said, I'm throwing my name in the hat.
Yeah.
LOL. And I thought that was great. But the Andy Cannizzaro was the right hire. It's just Cannizzaro got in some trouble. He's the best recruiter that's ever been on campus.
regardless of sport.
Yeah, including Rick Stansberry and Vic Schaefer and Ben Hallen actually was a hell of a recruiter. He just couldn't get the point guard position right. And then Cheryl was a good recruiter. That's what you're looking at.
So, do you have a tier, or can we work on a tier over the next couple of days?
You love some tiers.
Well, I want to know. I mean, because
sometimes you use it in the right way, sometimes you don't. But let's talk tiers.
TEA or TI?
It's TIER. All right, go ahead. Tiers with an S.
Are we looking at? I mean,
or you can maybe there's tiers TEARS when it comes to Mississippi State athletics.
I don't know how there aren't.
I mean, right now it's a big old F.
Big tearful deal.
So they got to get some things going because the grade for MSU athletics is a big fat F. You can use that F as whatever word you want. It can be fat. It can be something else that they don't let me say.
Failure.
Well, they do let me say that.
That is allowed.
Yeah. But you have got to get the run that you went on for 12 years across damn near every sport on campus and the insane success. And now apathy set in. The fan base is mad as hell. People aren't renewing their football tickets. And now you got to hire a baseball coach. And guess what? You can't miss.
Yeah.
I can't believe I'm saying this. You can somewhat miss in football. I mean, you really can't. But I mean, it looks like they're tied. They're going to basically go along with Levy developing as a head coach. It's just not ideal in this conference. You can do that in the Sun Belt and the Colonial Athletic if they even play football. Hell, I don't know. But in the SEC with Sark, Kelly, Kiffin, Smart. Man, who else? Napier. What a job he did the last half of the season.
Billy.
Who's the best coach in the SEC right now? Everything. Recruiting, portal. I know some of them have such a leg up because they're with one of the top 4 programs. Is it Smart? Sark? Oh, Heupel. Heupel is in that group with Kiffin and so on.
It's Kirby, though, right?
I think so.
I mean, by default, I don't want to give it to him. I don't like him.
You don't like Kirby?
No, he looks like John Gruden to me. But
he doesn't look like John Gruden to me, but that's interesting.
He looks a little bit like him.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, they're built. I see what you're saying. They're built similar. They're far, far from fat, but they're Southern football thick.
Right.
Right. They've got some farm boy. I mean, they're not as thick as some of our buddies that are farm boy thick, but I mean, you can call it country strong. But yeah, I see what you're saying. They kind of barrel chested, not tall dudes, but have some pork chop and on them. Yeah, I see where you're going. I do. They both wear visors.
Maybe it's the visor.
And the hair.
The hair.
They still got kind of the frat hair.
Yeah.
Okay. I never thought of that, but Kirby's a better coach than Gruden. But, okay.
Who would be 2? I mean, who is 2, though?
Well, is it Sark because he's gone to the college football playoff the last 2 years?
I'm not doing that. We're not giving that man any credit.
Heupel, who went to the college football playoff last year?
Give him more credit than Sark. Just anti-Sark, anti-Texas.
Okay. So Smart, Heupel, Sark. Kelly is a good coach, but hasn't been to the college football playoff. Hold that thought. We are the Out of Bounds Show. ESPN 105.9 The Zone, brought to you by the Mortgage Man. Went McGee. MortgageManMS.com. Let Went McGee shop the best rates for you. MortgageManMS.com. Went McGee. All right, back to is it Kirby and everybody else?
Lane.
Are you going to go Lane number 2? Even though he hadn't been to the college football playoff and Heupel and Sark have? Oh, and so has DeBoer.
Yeah.
DeBoer's been to the college football playoff. Actually, he's been to the national championship game.
Yeah.
With Washington, which is impressive because it's not like they're.
About that. That's right.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. Then that takes a little bit. I don't know where I'm at on that guy though. The jury's still out.
So
on him,
you got three. You got Smart, DeBoer, and Sark that have coached into the college football playoff.
Heupel.
And Heupel.
4. Sorry.
Yeah.
Dang. Yeah, I can't put Lane above that though. Not without the CFP.
Lane could get there this year, but man, when you look at the NFL draft and the 8 Ole Miss Rebels taken, it's like, and the one of the easiest schedules ever. There's going to be a lot of. Now maybe he can run it back, and maybe they can get that one more win and go to 10-2 and get in like Tennessee did. We'll see.
But that is
they love Austin Simmons, but he is still a young quarterback who's never really played much. And Walter Nolan is gone. Trey Harris is gone. Prescorn's gone. Princely's gone. Chris Paul's gone. I mean, Trey Amos is gone. It's a long list, man. Even though Jordan Watkins wasn't, and he wasn't ready to take over as wide receiver number 1 when Trey Harris went down, he still got drafted. Later in the draft. He was more than he wasn't far from elite, but right under a good SEC player, which is still impressive. And you want a bunch of those. And Bentley, signed a unrestricted, free agent. Yeah. A bunch of them did, outside the ones that we just mentioned who were obviously Dart's gone.
But on the coaches deal, right, with those 4 that have CFP appearances, I mean, if Lane clipped a CFP, he would be number 2 on that list, right?
I think for some people he may be, but for a lot of people he wouldn't be. Because what if Texas goes back? I mean, Texas is in a position to walk it back again to the college football playoff.
They sure are.
Whether you like him or not, Arch is going to be good.
Oh, I like Arch. That's
the fact that he has the way that they have allowed him to sit on campus and mature for 2 years, and now he's in year 3, and he has been there forever, and he's been to a ton of weight room workouts and all kinds of practices. I mean, he is really grounded and locked in there. Boy, you can't put a price on that. He's been there a long time, really been able to see what Sark wants, was able to play a lot last year when Quinn Ewers went down. So not only has he been able to sit, but it was never really, he didn't have to go and get it, but he played for a chunk of games last year, so we got to see, hey, live bullets, here's how it is. He played well, also made some mistakes. That's a good thing. He's walking in this year, having been there a long time, arguably the best talent in the league, along with Georgia and Bama.
Yeah.
And then he's ready to go.
He's set
He
up.
knows the offense. He knows exactly what Sark wants. He knows the personnel, all of that.
Further proof that they're doing it right.
You absolutely give the Mannings. They never thought about transferring. They didn't want to hop 3 different schools. He was going to wait. He waited. Quinn Ewers got hurt. He played pretty damn well. He got a lot of PT. He went back to the bench. No huffing and puffing. And now it's his team. And again, he knows the offense like the back, and he's run the offense for over 100 plays in live bullet games last year.
It's literally the
more than that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I was thinking of passes. The guys, clip 200 reps in college football.
This has to be the most ideal way to do this.
Now, they have to go to Georgia. And, and of course they have to go to Mississippi State. I mean, that's a gauntlet. So,
it's an L.
Yeah. I mean, don't you think State will be favored by 3?
At least.
Right. I mean,
Maybe a hook.
Right. All right. Let's switch gears. We're going to drop this Derek Carr. Do we want the Derek Carr audio? I think Saints fans are interested in this because it's lining up to be an absolute and tough. Man, I'm telling you, the similarities between what has happened to Mississippi State and the Saints, post Mullen and Sean Payton / Breeze, is people got fat and happy off Mullen winning games and off Payton and Breeze winning games. Little too much of a country club vibe, maybe, in as Mississippi State athletics, which is not who they are. Like they got into, being dogs and the blue collar work ethic and which is what it takes in college football, whether you're Georgia or Samford. But Jackson, there seems to be there's not enough grit and a sense of urgency and have to win now, period, end of discussion. Obviously, they have more than enough money to fund NIL, just like anybody in the conference. But, several leaders on campus pearl clutched, and that went over into the fan base. But now they're pumping in revenue share because you can pump in your team. You can pump in all the money you want now. Just
right.
All right. So anyway, the Saints. Miss Benson takes over. It's almost like that executive team is like family. Maybe there's not a sense of urgency anymore. They signed Derek Carr. They owe him $59 million. This is Derek Carr in Las Vegas at a church while I guess he's giving a sermon or a motivational speech, and he starts talking about his injury.
And so, man, that verse right there, I know it blesses somebody because that verse has been blessing me. But let me tell you, you guys know I like to tell you what God has done and what God is going to do, but I also like to tell you what God is doing right now, okay? And so, yes, I have to say this. I hate that I have to say this, but I have to say this. Yes, I have a shoulder injury, despite what ESPN says, and what some lady on a podcast might think. Okay, I have an MRI report to prove it. The team knows about it. We've been in constant communication. There's nothing wrong. We're figuring it out, and we're going to go forward with that. Is that okay? And I've been dealing with this, and I've been dealing with people lying about me. I've been dealing with them saying this and that, and I'm like, Lord, why do I have to continue to deal with this nonsense? Like, what is going on? And I say that to preface with, you never know what someone's really going through. And so why do we continually try to attack people? And I would say attack people that are trying to do things maybe the right way. Why do we continually try? Why do we always have to have an opinion? Why do we always? Twitter and Instagram has ruined things for some people. Okay. Because now all these people think that they have voices that have to be heard. And so some people's voices don't need to be heard right now. I just got to be honest with you. Because not one of our opinions in here matters. Did you know that? The only opinion that matters is that text right there. It is the Word of God. And everything must bow at that.
All right, well, he contradicted himself at the end in that that's Derek Carr for our listeners. He, I guess, is the starting quarterback or supposed to be the starting quarterback for the New Orleans Saints. Let's unpack this for a second. So Derek Carr was in Las Vegas. That's where he used to live. He was the the Las Vegas Raiders, Oakland Raiders quarterback for a while. He's actually a good player.
Yeah.
When he's healthy, he can play really well. He can win you games in the NFL. Sure. I will give him, before I say some other things, I will give him props that the Raiders were not well run while he was there, kind of like, Dak and the Cowboys and Dan Marino and the Dolphins and all these. You've got players that they're just not with well-run organizations. The Raiders, Mark Davis is not a good owner. They still won some games. He can play. He's still got some juice in him. But here's what I was thinking about. He said, well, no one else, your opinion, my opinion doesn't matter, and that's fine. I mean, but you just called out people who were talking about you.
Yeah.
And what is the extent of your injury? You said that you have an MRI. Okay. So I guess, we need to take your word for it. Sure. You're injured. Surely somebody, an orthopedic surgeon, has come up with, you're either out or you're able to get healthy by September 1.
Right.
I mean, this is pretty simple. You either have to have surgery and you can come back and you'll be fine. Or maybe you're back, there's some scenario, right? Or you have to have surgery and you're done for this year. But there is some kind of prognosis and path and approach because you have all the best orthopedic surgeons you can get, whether it's in Las Vegas in your personal ones, or maybe over on the West Coast, you're from the San Francisco Bay Area, or either, the orthopedic team for the Saints, Oshner's or whoever it is. Okay? And the bottom line is, but you can get a rock star orthopedic surgeon that specializes in your shoulder to tell you what you need to get done. Now, whether that's physical therapy to get back and you don't need to be cut on, or whether that's some kind of minor surgery and you can still come back in 8 to 12 weeks or 16 weeks or 20 weeks, may bleed into the season a little bit, but you could still come back. Or you're out for the year. But there is something going on here. Yeah. And I just don't think it's a good look. I mean,
no.
And I don't know what the Saints, you have $59 million on your contract, and you're basically feeling sorry for yourself. I mean, there's people trying to get to tomorrow as far as food and shelter, or living paycheck to paycheck in this country and in this world. Nobody's going to feel sorry for a dude that's got $60 million more guaranteed, not counting the $200 million he's already made. Oh. So if you're trying to sell that up on stage at a church, it's not going to work. And you did contradict. You got on, look, and we all do it, but you went major moral high horse. That's not going to play well. Man, here's what we all know about fans. They don't give a damn. They want you to show up in the football stadium, in the basketball arena, and on the baseball field and play your ass off. If you can play. Right. That's it. They want you to perform and produce. If you don't, this league moves on. Now, I don't know what Loomis and Kellen Moore and them are going to do, if they're all going to get together and go to Doris Metropolitan and break bread and it's going to be okay. I wouldn't be surprised. But that was Derek Carr, who I thought was QB1 for the Saints, but now I don't know if it's going to be Spencer Rattler from South Carolina and Tyler Shuck from Louisville, who you just drafted in the second round, and then you're going to pick up what? A 6-tier veteran? Because the good ones,
they're gone.
You'd love to have Gardner Minshew, but he already signed with the Chiefs.
Jameis
Winston's with the Giants. Oh. There's only so many Fitzmagic players that can win you games as the number 2 out there. I don't know what's left on the street. There may be a little bit more left here.
Get Flacco after they cut him.
And the Cowboys need to pick up a receiver. They didn't draft one wide receiver in the draft. They don't even have a wide receiver 2 or a wide receiver 3. Unbelievable. Enjoy the day. We'll be back tomorrow.